Hello, welcome to the 1 to 11 podcast, where myself, Paul, and my brother John
Hello.
are completing essentially what I've been calling a love letter to football. So what we'll be doing with this is we'll be talking through a particular time. What we want to do is take on our experiences of football. So what we're doing is creating squads based on a theme, but we want to be really clear with this. This isn't the definitive list of the best Premier League football. This is very much something which we'd be very happy to discuss with people. So if you feel that we've made a glaring omission from our list, contact us and we'll tell you how at the end. But we've been doing a theme of the Premier League over the last few weeks, and the last episode we did was foreign Premier League players from 92 to 97.
The first 5 years of the Premier League. Back when it really felt a novelty to have, a German in your squad.
Absolutely. Now, I've picked a very specific time period for this, and I'll explain why. Taking from 97 to 2003. The reason I've picked a 2003 is there was a seismic shift in football transfers at that point with the Abramovich era at Chelsea starting.
Yes. But this is back when it was, once again, it's still emerging. We've got to 97, suddenly the Premier League's able to make more landmark transfers into it. Also, we don't have as many restrictions anymore. So,
and you're beginning to see players choosing the Premier League as the destination to go to because of how certain foreign players are treated.
Yes.
So we spoke about the pioneers of kind of Cantona and Bergkamp in the last episode. Now, we'll talk through some of these players now, but I think you're beginning to see clubs more willing to take a chance on foreign players, clubs whose strategy is around their club and their transfer policy built around one foreign player. So we're beginning to see great players coming into the league, which makes this more difficult for me.
It becomes harder as well. There's a reason the first episode I picked 97, and that's because Wenger. There's sort of a Premier League pre-Wenger, and then it's the first of the seismic shifts in the Premier League. He sort of professionalises it. Then Abramovich comes in later, and the money just goes mental. But yeah,
you saw Wenger building a team predominantly on foreign players. The Man United teams of there's people talk about the 3 eras of Ferguson, don't they? Like the early Premier League winners and the treble winners, and of course you've got to talk about the effect the treble had. This was the first British team since the 80s to win the European Cup, the Champions League, the first time a British club had won the Champions League, and it legitimises it.
It definitely does. It really does. So yeah,
but this is what makes it hard, and as a Man United fan, makes it very hard because still that Man United team has a very English, British, Irish core, and we do need to clarify something which we didn't clarify in the last episode.
We're not counting Irish in this because obviously we do know Ireland isn't Britain, but there is a history of Irish players in the English top division,
and it made it more of a challenge to not have Irish players, because in the last one you would have had Paul McGrath in defence. Of course you would have. You would have had
Kelly.
I was going to go with Roy Keane first.
Well, exactly, yeah. But I say, moving forward, you've got Roy Keane. Roy Keane would have fit into this team as well.
Shay Given would have gone in goal.
Given.
But this actually, clearly Ireland is a different country. Ireland is not part of the United Kingdom.
But yeah, we didn't explain that, so we just wanted to make that clear.
Yes, so that's where we are there, and that's also the reasoning behind it. Now, me personally, I like to go for a flat 4-4-2 because as a person who kind of fell in love with football in the 90s, there is no other formation.
Well, I proved in the last one that that's not true, but I have picked a 4-4-2 here.
Good. So, obviously, United at the time, who were dominant, had the Diamond 4-4-2, didn't they?
Yes.
Now, clearly, I haven't gone for a diamond 4-4-2, but I've gone for a 4-4-2 because that is the the vogue formation of the time. So I'm going to start with my keeper, and the keeper I'm going to go for, because we always start at the back. My keeper that I'm going to go for is Mark Schwarzer.
I never thought of Mark Schwarzer, and that's a great shout.
So Mark Schwarzer, you forget, was in the Leicester squad that won the league title.
Yeah.
2015.
Well, I think he then moved to Chelsea, didn't he? And won
from Chelsea to Leicester.
Or was it Chelsea to Leicester?
So he was playing for Leicester at 43 years old.
Bloody hell, yeah.
So, the Australian international keeper coming in didn't feel that big because Australia wasn't the best team at that time. But the most appearances by a non-Briton in the Premier League.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. He was. You think about when Middlesbrough won their League Cup, he was in goal.
And a man who has lost the UEFA Cup final twice.
Oh, bloody hell. Of
With Middlesbrough and Fulham.
Middlesbrough and Fulham, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very, very underrated player for me. And again, longevity obviously comes into my thoughts, but 97 to 2003, Middlesbrough were always there.
Yeah.
Clearly Middlesbrough came back after being relegated.
Yeah, yes, but they went down initially, but then they were quite solidly in the Premier League for a few years.
And then at the back end of this, you've got the Steve McLaren era as well.
Yes. Oh, God, I forgot about Steve. But he's at Man United now, isn't he? Your assistant manager.
Yes, he's our best assistant that we have to Erik ten Hag. Or a Dutch accent, if you know what. if you want to do those. So there was a couple of other notable mentions.
Well, do you want me to go through mine, and then we can go through the notables in case they are...
Because I'm sure you have the first person I have in my notable mentions. Go for your keeper.
Go on, tell me who your first notable is.
Carlo Cudicini.
It is Carlo Cudicini. I loved him. I thought he was brilliant. Once again, didn't really not like he came in with any fanfare, but he started on the bench behind, I think, Ed de Hoy, who was going to be my initial choice, but basically, just made the position his own. Mark Bosnich never stood a chance, mainly because he was poor. The year Arsenal were the Invincibles, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And basically, after 2003, injuries took their turn on him. And, of course, 2004, Petr Cech comes in and just... basically, his only time then appearing is when, Petr Cech is injured or suspended. So it
was an unfortunate casualty of the Abramovich.
Yeah, in a way, there was nothing wrong with his performances. But when you have a chance at Petr Cech, I understand why especially the joys of hindsight, you understand why they do it. But yeah,
because anybody who says Petr Cech isn't top three of the best keepers of the Premier League is a liar.
Oh yeah, there's maybe Schmeichel better than him, but yeah, I joined for 300,000 quid from Lazio, who obviously were a good team, but once again he had injuries there. That's why they let him go. But no, I really loved him. I thought he was brilliant.
My other notable mention was Brad Friedel.
I had De Hoy and Brad Friedel as my choices. I'd forgotten Mark Schwarzer. But Brad Friedel was great. I thought he was actually better when he got older.
I agree with you. He came to Blackburn in 2000.
Yeah.
Because Graham Souness fell in love with him at Galatasaray in the mid-90s. He came to Blackburn in 2000 after being a backup at Liverpool for 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think didn't they have trouble with his work permit getting him to Liverpool. I seem to remember that.
Celtic tried to sign him and couldn't. Sunderland tried to sign him and couldn't. Keegan tried to sign him for Newcastle and couldn't. So they'd been wanting him to come to the UK in various different guises for quite a few years. Liverpool were the first team upon appeal to be successful at getting him a work permit. But him at Blackburn were obviously coming back to the Premier League after the Roy Hodgson disaster where they got relegated.
Yeah.
They came back, and Brad Friedel was the one, kind of the thing that gave them that core.
Well, he was there when they got promoted, wasn't he? And just good teams, start with an assured goalkeeper, quite frankly.
I've only known one instance in my time being a football fan where a good team had a bad keeper, and that was Man United with Bosnich.
Yeah.
Again, notable mention.
For a while, he was Ferguson wanted him to replace Schmeichel. The guy had talent, but I never really thought of him. But Brad Friedel, and also just give you a chance to mention the Brad Friedel files.
The saga of Brad Friedel.
Yeah, absolutely the best website on the whole internet. But should we move into defence?
Absolutely.
So, we normally start at right back. So, who's your right back?
Albert Ferrer.
Oh, that's a good shout. I forgot Albert Ferrer.
So he moved to Chelsea in about 99, 97. Let me find out. Albert Ferrer was here we go. Albert Ferrer joined Chelsea in 98. Had been with Barcelona for 8 years. Came up out of La Masia into the Cruyff Dream Team. Was a solid part of the Bobby Robson process and was displaced by Michael Reisiger coming in.
Yeah.
I felt he was very solid for Chelsea, and in terms of that period of Chelsea legitimising, as we mentioned in the last episode, with Zola coming in and Di Matteo and Vialli and Hullet, Albert Ferrer was also an important part of that for me. And Albert Ferrer's time there ends essentially with the beginning of the Abramovich era.
Yeah. I forgot Ferrer, but now you mention it, I do think he's better than the person I picked. Who but back to the last episode where he had one very good season in this period, and in that and that was Marcus Babbel.
Yeah, so this is Liverpool signing somebody who Man United were very, very close to signing after Euro 96.
Yeah, it seemed to be always in the papers about to join Man United. Basically,
agreed personal terms, but we could never agree a fee with Bayern, apparently.
Yeah, so ended up joining Liverpool for nothing on a Bosman.
Yeah, this was after he'd played in the Champions League final against United for Bayern, and that Bayern team to be fair, any Bayern team of the last 50 years has been contending for everything.
Yeah.
But he was also part of the Euro 96 squad. He was a quality player.
Yeah, had injury issues. Had a very good first season, and then injuries took their toll, and actually robbed us of the best years of Marcus Babbel. But in that year, a very attacking right back, defensively solid, but one of those ones that's just going to bomb on, and got Guillain-Barré syndrome. So his immune system damaged the muscles in his the nervous system. So absolutely horrid, but did return, went back to Blackburn, and then back to Stuttgart.
So Liverpool won and you'll have to forgive me, this is a term I've read, it's not my opinion, so please no Liverpool fans come at me. The doesn't matter treble.
That's harsh, but yeah, I know what you mean. But
he's
in that year,
he scored in the final
he
against Alaves.
And I remember watching that game. That was a fucking brilliant game.
Yeah,
I mean, 5-4 at a cup final
in extra time.
Yeah,
when Jordi Cruyff looked like his dad.
Yeah, and as well, Gary McAllister came on and absolutely changed that game. Well, didn't come on; he started, but he just was absolutely brilliant as like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, just Leeds got rid of him too early. It's a shame we're not doing the best non-English.
Or just best British and Irish.
So
we still might.
Marcus Babbel was a decent player and part of a very successful Liverpool team.
Yeah. So who have we got in the centre defence?
First one is Jaap Stam.
Yeah, the most obvious candidate.
Man United were on the cusp. Arsenal had taken ground in the Premier League and were real force under Wenger. In Europe, we were always the bridesmaid. We were never quite there. Jaap Stam comes in, plays 50-odd games that season for us. Is just a monster, an absolute monster in defence. I think if you were to take inflation in terms of based on how much we paid for him and how much he'd cost now, it'd be the equivalent of a Harry Maguire-esque transfer. It was a lot of money for a defender with Jaap Stam coming in.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned in the last episode the aura of Schmeichel. This is a team with Schmeichel and Stam. I mean, the fact that you conceded goals, I'm going to take as a massive slight again, because you should have finished the season conceding like 6 goals. But yeah, no, he's brilliant, scary. Yeah, just had that. He would like as well. Like he just seems bigger than the other players, but he was also quicker. And because I remember he played at right back for Milan after he left you, and he was brilliant. So
there was a lot of pressure. He came in as the most expensive defender of all time when he joined United. Yeah. 10.6 million. And yeah, I think the way he left under a cloud because of him essentially talking about Ferguson in his book.
Yes. I
love that we felt he was past his peak and then signed Laurent Blanc.
Yeah. Obviously just bullshit, but absolute. Just what a player he was. I think that the fact that I think Fergie would probably admit he regrets letting him go.
Jaap Stam's Wikipedia page talks about how Ferguson says he regrets letting him go.
Oh, there you go. Who have you got next to Jaap Stam?
Next to Jaap Stam, I have another member of that imperious Liverpool team, is Sami Hyypiä.
I've got also Hyypiä. I was tempted to put Desailly because generally when I get a chance to put Desailly, I put Desailly.
Desailly was fantastic,
but for me, Hyypiä was better.
Yeah, Sami Hyypiä was just a rock for Liverpool.
Yeah,
Desailly fell off a cliff at the end for me.
It's not that he fell off a cliff.
He lost his legs.
He did.
And his mind was very good, but he was noticeably a step slower. Hyypiä left Liverpool, and till the day he left there, he was still fantastic.
Yeah. Even when he left, it almost felt he still had some years left, and which is saying something because he was no spring chicken when he left, but absolutely a wonderful defender to watch, and like his partnership with Honcho,
amazing,
was brilliant. And it's very hard to say much more because he was just very, very classy. Which is annoying because neither of us are Liverpool fans, but they were just very, very good at this time.
Yeah, and a very, very good player. Very good player. I can't really say much more because he was everything you'd want in a defender at that time. He also had a bit of an aura because he was gigantic.
He was, but the whole point of Stamm and Hippier was they were big. They were like big in the air, but they also, on the deck, they were very good bringing the ball out.
Yes,
and they were just the change of it gone from like. The centre defenders always seemingly up for a bit of a Barney, and but now they're suddenly very, very gifted footballers. So who have you got at left back?
The last player I'm purposely choosing as part of that Liverpool team because I felt he was a fantastic left back, which is John Arne Riise.
Ooh, nice. I've also got a Liverpool player, but I have not got John Arne Riise. I've gone with Christian Ziege.
Very good player.
Initially joined Middlesbrough, didn't he?
He did, yep.
And back when tapping up was a thing rather than just how transfers happened, which is... and I guess it's to be expected, but he played one season at Middlesbrough, was very, very good. And then suddenly Liverpool were the only team seemingly aware of his get-out clause, which is $5.5 million, because other teams bid 8. But he wanted to join Liverpool, so that's what happened. And I think Liverpool got fined 20 grand, and I think he got fined 10 for this illegal. Back then it was tapping up. Now it's to be expected because you don't want to put in a transfer bid if the player's not going to accept it.
The Barcelona approach.
Exactly. But his time at Liverpool was shorter than you'd expect, but he had horrible injury issues again. This time, they were. It seemed Liverpool German fullbacks were cursed because he had I think basically like his leg was eating itself effectively, and they let him go back to Germany. Where he went to Tottenham, and then Tottenham had to let him go for free because basically his leg was in a horrible state. But in those years, he was just a brilliant player to watch. Once again, like Babel, defensively sound, but was great going forward. Had a hell of a free kick.
Had everything you needed.
Played a year for Middlesbrough, played a year for Liverpool, played 3 years at Tottenham. Didn't play enough games at either Liverpool or Tottenham, but his year at Middlesbrough alone would get him in because he was fantastic. And you don't play for Bayern Munich, Milan, if you're a bad player.
Exactly.
So that's. So should we move into midfield?
I've got one more notable mention, which is Michael Tarnat.
The free kick hitter.
Just thunder bastard specialist Michael Tarnat.
Yeah. I forgot about him, but was at Man City, wasn't he?
He was indeed. It was the 2003 to 2004 season, so it's just at the edge. But I really enjoyed watching him when he came to Manchester City.
Yeah, it wasn't. He was very much at the end of his career. Wasn't as mobile as other players, but he did have a wonderful shot on him.
Yeah, just great player.
Okay, so who else have you got in? So who have you got in midfield? Where do you want to start?
I'm going to start at right midfield. No, actually, I'm going to start at left midfield.
Okay.
My left midfielder is Laurent Robert.
Laurent Robert. I've gone with Robert Pires.
I might as well, because I've just had this alarm go over my head around when Laurent Robert joined them.
Well, Laurent Robert.
No, it's fine. He joined in 2001.
Yeah,
Laurent Robert.
Yeah, I think in 2000, in his first season, I think he was like one of the players of the year. Very much like the players we just mentioned, he had a wonderful shot on him, didn't he?
Yeah, he was a free kick specialist, and free kicks, you forget just this litany of amazing free kick takers. Mihalovic, Pernambucano, Beckham, Carlos, Henry, loads and loads of players around this time who just could bend a ball in from anywhere. Yeah, I'm going with Laurent Robert because this is my list, and that's who I enjoyed watching, and that's who I kept an eye out for. You know, he's also someone who spent 5 years at Newcastle, but came in with a bit of fanfare. Again, like the next Ginola.
Well, yeah, because hadn't he also joined from PSG?
Yeah, a left mid from PSG.
Yeah, very left-footed.
The most left-footed of left-footers who've ever left-footed.
But But he had a wonderful ability to strike a ball.
And Bobby Robson loved him.
I think unfortunately for him, Bobby Robson left, and they replaced him with Graham Souness, who didn't love him. And at this point, basically Newcastle turned into a bit of a crazy bastard case of a club. If you forget about Olivier Bernard as well, as the left back, who was very, very good for Newcastle at this time, and actually helped make gave Robert the ammunition to be as brilliant as he was. But yeah, $9.5 million he cost him back in 2001. It was a lot of money. But yeah, had it all. He was quick. He had a wonderful shot. He could pass a ball. He had a bit of a temper.
Yeah, but that was what you wanted. That was what you'd want from a player.
Yeah, but it was brilliant. And yeah, I don't mind a bit of a temper. Makes it, as long as he's not my teammate, makes things a bit fun, doesn't he? Yeah. And sort of what you expected from mercurial French players at the time, like they were,
this air of being aloof.
Yeah, the ones that Wenger had were very professional, but like you wanted occasionally a madman to come in and just fall out with everyone, and Robert did it. Cantona had that ability to do it. They were Anelka,
the moody stoic Frenchman.
Yeah, that's they were fun. Yeah. So I've got Robert Pires.
I have Robert Pires at my right midfield because I wanted to have Robert Pires in this team.
I mean, he you could play him anywhere across the middle, basically. He was I just remember him scoring an absolute wonderful goal.
The dink against Villa?
No, the one against Liverpool where he cuts in from the left onto his right foot and just curls it round from the edge of the box around the goalkeeper. And just a wonderful player. Very, very strange running style, if I remember.
Yeah, he
sort of flat-footed.
He was one who just... There was an excitement when he got the ball. And that's, for me, that was... At this time, you had lots of players who, when they got the ball, shit, this guy's going to do something.
Yeah.
And, he had this air of unpredictability about him, which you don't see in players nowadays because it's quite regimented and there's expectation. You do get the feeling it was kind of Bobby, just go and do what you want.
Yeah.
Just go and be creative.
Yeah, he was fun. And, he could just do whatever he sort of felt, especially with the players in front of him, just was absolutely brilliant to watch. So, yeah, that's why I went with Robert Pires. Who have you got in your centre of midfield?
The first one is, if he's not in your team, I don't know why. The Arsenal around this time were very, very good. One of the key elements of that was Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
We talked about auras of players. You know, these players who just... You had to plan for them.
Yeah.
Patrick Vieira was someone you had to plan for.
Very much so.
And he had everything. He had the ability to get the ball in space and get out. He had the ability to win the ball. He had the ability to head the ball because he had height on him. He was muscly as hell. He just... Seeing this madman come out the tunnel slathered in vapor rub, running at you just... And Arsenal lost something. The Wenger era kind of... The true success of the Wenger era, and then challenging for the title left when he left for me.
Not that, no, because I think they were still very good once he left, but yeah, they were never as competitive once he went. Because I still have quite a fondness for the Cesc Fabregas years when they were very good but never won anything. But Vieira, as a Leeds fan, I really like Vieira because that Arsenal team basically broke up the domination of Man United, and it seemed that like he was in your head all the time. So I really enjoyed watching him, and so yeah, I had Patrick Vieira as the sort of linchpin of my midfield. Who have you got? Who have you got with him?
The player I've gone for is Dietmar Hamann.
That's a great shout.
So originally signed to Newcastle, coming from Bayern. Bayern kind of lost a little bit of faith in him because he'd have TIAs or mini strokes.
Oh, really?
Trans-ischemic attacks, I believe they're called. But yeah, he'd had some health issues. So came to Newcastle and was very, very good for them. Very shortly moved to Liverpool from Newcastle, and
didn't Liverpool know about a get out clause again that enabled them to pick him, and a very upset Newcastle a lot because I think basically his get out clause was the same as what they bought him for, effectively.
Yeah, for a Newcastle team that were wanting to build, he was very, very good, very, very good, and he was someone who I think is kind of forgotten because he wasn't that great at the end. When he went to Bolton, when he went to City, and MK Dons, where he ended.
Yeah. It was, because remember he joined Bolton initially, didn't he? So he joined Bolton, and then after a day joined Man City.
Which Allardyce and the club said was the best thing they've ever done.
They made 400 grand in a day.
Yeah.
It was sort of sad watching him, really, at that. Not sad watching him, but he wasn't the player. I guess at this point he's been in the country for like what, 8 years. He's not a young man anymore, and I remember him. He played. He scored. Didn't he score the winning penalty in the Champions League final?
Yes.
And he had a broken foot. And then I think the next year, he scored the first penalty in the shootout, and I think once again he had a broken toe in that one as well. So
he was the epitome of like German grit.
Yeah,
just hard work. So I know we're not looking at that time period, but there was a noticeable difference between him being on the pitch and him not being on the pitch when they won the Champions League.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, he absolutely turned that team around as his steadying,
just calming influence.
Yeah,
and he gave other players a freedom. So Steven Gerrard becoming this household name and becoming this imperious midfielder wouldn't have been able to have happened without the industry of Dietmar Hamann. And very, very good player. And I think someone who, based on what he achieved in his career, is actually a little bit underrated.
Very much so, actually. Yeah, I agree. Someone who doesn't really get mentioned, and I think partly maybe they're because he's got quite a annoying.
He's a TalkSport lovey.
He's a TalkSport lovey now, and a sort of a Twitter
menace
troll. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but that's how they are. That's basically how he makes his money now, which is fair enough. So right wing, you've got Perez.
Correct.
I've got, once again, my right winger isn't really a right winger, but I had to put him in my team, which is Mark Overmars. And was just, at the beginning of the Wenger years, was just fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's just watching a man with pace to burn running at fullbacks and centre defenders, and once again was part of the team that turned Arsenal from a sort of upper mid-level Premier League team, because that's what they were effectively. They had fallen down the ranks to become the best team in England.
Yeah. So Overmars is an interesting one because a lot of these players have come in with a bit of fanfare. So you take Jaap Stam, Dietmar Hamann coming to Newcastle had a bit of fanfare. This guy who'd played for Germany at the World Cup the German midfielder coming to Newcastle. Bobby Perez going from Marseille, played in the Euro 2000, and
these are all multi-million pound.
They're players who've come with a degree of kind of. Yes, I understand that. Overmars felt like a bit of a gamble because of a knee injury he'd suffered at Ajax, and he was apparently set to join Man United.
Yeah.
I don't know how we'd have fit him in. You'd find a way because he was phenomenal.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think the fee was said to be about 5 million. I think Wenger has said it was much less than that because people were worried about this knee injury. But
he very much proved them wrong.
Oh God, yeah, and they made a lot of money on him.
Yeah. He
went to Barcelona for £20 million when it seems silly to say that was a lot of money.
Yeah, that was a big transfer. Very, very good player. I think he just had the ability to I've never seen anyone dribble as well as him. Obviously, you've got these players now, like your Ronaldo's, your Messi's, your Neymar's, these players, but Overmars just had this. It was a good old-fashioned winger. Proper winger.
Yeah. He would take on fullbacks and was very fun.
Hug the touchline.
Yeah. But yeah,
had the ability to get in behind as well, and
he scored a lot of goals when wingers at this time weren't expected to score goals. They were expected to get to the byline and put the ball in. But yeah, I've just realised I forgot to give you my other centre midfielder.
Please do.
Olivier Dacour.
Boo Leeds.
I just thought he was very underrated. And when he played for Leeds, was an absolute Rolls Royce of midfielder, and is very underlooked to his impact, because actually that team that got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, like, the defence was good.
So you're going to thumb in a Leeds player,
yeah,
but you're not going to thumb in Harry Kewell, who from 97 to 2003 was probably at his best.
Yeah, but he was a left winger, and I couldn't honestly tell you that he was better than Robert Pires. He's also less of a dickhead than Robert Pires.
Fair.
But yeah, I really liked Olivier Dacour. I wore a shirt with his name to go watch Leeds play Wolves last weekend, and a lot of people came up to me and go, "Oh man, Dacour was good, wasn't he?"
Just you telling them you're going to the court. That's what it was.
No, I think he's very much underrated for what he did, and I think he wasn't here long enough. But he was a I'm not going to say a poor man's Vieira, but
the problem he had is he was a Frenchman who the French national team at that time were
it's very much like the French now. You had Petit, Vieira, Deschamps, or
Bogassian, Zidane,
Leguinski, all these
great midfielders.
But because Dacour was playing with Batty, like he was a ball winner. He was a bit nasty, but also he had a beautiful pass on him. And for a while in his Leeds day, he was a French regular, playing alongside Patrick Vieira. And the fact that we replaced him with Paul Ocon and sold him at a loss, because we had to sell everyone. But the fact that we let him go to Roma for £4 million, I think is an absolute disgrace. And the team that reached the semi-finals, I think he's a very much forgotten part of it. I think, this is why we have this thing. Fight me if you want to.
I'm not going to. He's a good shout.
Yeah.
Very underrated player, but I feel you're too loyal to Leeds with that pick. But again, very good player.
Very good player, but yeah, just unfortunate. But yes, let's move on to the forward line, because I think we might have the two same here.
We don't.
How do you know?
Because I can see over your laptop. The first one I'm going to pick is someone who you'd be mad not to pick, which is Thierry Henry.
Thierry Henry.
You watched him become the best player in the world in this period of time.
Yeah. Would say he's in the top 3 players of Premier League history.
Yes, I very much agree.
If you don't agree, if you're not saying he's in the top 5, then
you're wrong.
You're wrong. But yeah, just
had everything.
Devastating on his day.
Had everything.
Yeah, I remember at one point people going, doesn't score headed goals. And you're like, well, yeah, but
need to.
They don't put the ball into the box. And actually, I remember one day he scored against Man United in the last minute with a headed goal, and because they put the ball into the box, and he scored a brilliant header.
Why isn't this fish climbing this tree?
Exactly. Yeah. Just indescribably brilliant. Signed from Juve, where he didn't have a great time. Moved from the wing to up front by Wenger, famously, and
you saw the signal of intention with that goal against United, where he just
flicked it,
came to him with his back to goal, flicks it on the turn, just makes Barthez look like a tool.
Yeah.
Great player, one of the integral parts of the Premier League, continuing to kind of build in relevance. Just for me, he is an all-time great.
I remember it being controversial at the time, like 11 million quid for a Juve reject. And you're like, yeah, no, I think they got their money's worth.
Yeah, he had everything. He had absolutely
Yeah.
everything. And again, like we said last week with Bergkamp, if you judge a player by is there a statue of them outside the ground?
Yes, there is.
Yes, he's very good. I'm going to let you know who my next person is alongside Thierry Henry, as clearly we both have Thierry Henry. The person I've got next to him is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
I forgot Jimmy Floyd. But he was brilliant.
I'll tell you why I picked Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Because there was an absolute glut of great strikers around at that time.
Yeah.
And he was a Premier League top scorer.
Yeah. A couple of times, wasn't he? I know he was with Leeds. But came back with Chelsea, scored because he went to Atletico Madrid, didn't he? He scored 24 goals when they got relegated. Like how that happened, I just don't know. But yeah, came back and just was still brilliant, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, he scored 24 goals. Atletico Madrid in total scored 48, so he scored half their goals.
Yeah. So he won the Golden Boot twice, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. Really great striker, and someone who, that Dutch team at that time were wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And he was someone who was making that Dutch team.
Yeah.
He had everything you'd want in a striker as well. He was quick, he was agile, he had a hell of a shot on him. And again, I feel like this is turning into a bit of a love letter to Chelsea, which I didn't see happening. But
they at this point they were the pioneers of bringing in.
They were the first team to field the fully foreign squad.
Yeah.
But yeah, him and later on him and Gudjohnsen.
Well, Gudjohnsen was one of my notables because I really liked Ida Gudjohnsen, but
I'm kind of disappointed because to break the intrigue, I can see your list when I look over your laptop. I picked Hasselbank because, as I say, there was these glut of strikers, and even if you take the English strikers at the time, you've got your Henry. No, he's not English. You've got Henry, you've got Michael Owen, you've got Robbie Fowler, you've got Andy Cole, Dwight York. There's lots of players scoring lots of goals, but Hasselbank, not that great a team.
No.
Compared to some of these juggernauts that were around at the time, was just kept banging them in, and that's what you want a striker to do. So who have you got instead of Mr. Hasselbank?
I had Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, very similar to the Mark Overmars story in terms of United had looked to sign him, and he broke down in training. Like his knee just exploded, basically.
Was it ACL or was it something? It was a horrible knee injury.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the fact that Ferguson came in basically a year later and paid the same amount of money for him after this knee injury, where he's not like he played 10 games, scored 2 goals in that year. It was it wasn't like a hell of a gamble because he was going to be brilliant, really. There was a.
So, looking at the story, United looked set to transfer him in 2000. He was set to be unveiled 4 days later, but we had concerns about his knee because he'd not played for a month. PSV cancelled because Harry Van Rage was their chairman, and he was a very strict negotiator.
Yeah.
And when we'd come in and taken his best defender.
Yes.
He hadn't played for a month because of problems with his knee. He did a training session within that 4-day period and ruptured his cruciate.
Yeah.
Ruud van Nistelrooy was
ruthless.
like Ronaldo now.
Yes. He isn't going to get involved in the play, is he?
He's not going to track back because he's not there to do that.
Yeah.
If you want someone to track back, you wouldn't have him. You wouldn't sign him. But what he had, was just this. If he's got the ball moving forward, he's going to look to score.
Yeah. No, he was quick. He was big. He was quick.
He scored a goal against Fulham.
Was that his debut?
No. Later on, he scored a goal against Fulham.
I remember a great goal against Fulham. He got the ball from, basically. I think he scored some goals against Arsenal.
Oh, sorry, he did score twice on his debut against Fulham.
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't his debut.
But he took the ball and just ran at a defender, scared the shit out of him, and very calmly played this ball into the corner. It was like, I remember the stats at one point, like his goals from outside the area were few to none. But it wasn't. If you got him in front of goal, he was absolutely deadly. And it's a shame for him that his sort of end of career at Man United ended in a sort of a damp way. But
it worked out right for everyone because we took a calculated gamble on Cristiano Ronaldo. Clearly that paid off.
Yeah.
He moved to Real Madrid and won the Pichichi the season he got there.
Yeah.
So everybody won.
Yeah. Well, Man United I think only got 8 million quid for him.
14.
Was it 14? Still.
5 years after signing a guy who'd ruptured his ACL the year before.
For 19. But yeah.
Well, set Ruud van Nistelrooy apart for me was Europe.
Yeah.
He made us very, very good in Europe. He always scored in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, let's not kid. He was just deadly.
He was an old-fashioned striker in a time which he was like a throwback in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Very, very good player. And again, I think because of how good United became after he left, he's somewhat overlooked.
Yeah, he was replaced effectively by Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Who didn't get on with him.
No. So he came into United after York and Cole, which obviously were a fantastic strike partnership. Essentially, he straddled the time between us winning the European Cup.
Yeah.
But for a guy who scored 150 goals for us, how can he be overlooked?
Exactly.
But great player. Such a great player.
He was. And he just scored goals wherever. Even, just apart from at the end at Malaga, where, just felt a retirement tour for some money.
But if you're going to do that, what a way to do it.
Yeah. But no, brilliant player. So do you want to go for your team?
Very much so, yeah. So in goal, I've got Mark Schwarzer. Right back of Ferrer, centre backs of Stam and Herpia, with a left back of Jan-Arne Riise, the midfield of Pires, Haman, Vieira, Robert, and a forward line of Henry and Hasselbank.
Nice. I've got Carlo Cudicini, a back four of Christian Ziege, Sami Hyypiä, Jaap Stam, Marcus Babbel.
Marcus.
I think that's how it's pronounced. A midfield of Robert Pires, Patrick Vieira, Olivier Dacour, Marc Overmars, up front Van Nistelrooy and Thierry Henry.
Both phenomenal teams. So that was what we thought of the best foreign imports into the Premier League from 97 to 2003. We very much want people to have their say. So if it's something that you do not agree with and you feel it's criminal that we didn't include Pierre Van Hooijdonk, get in touch. If you think it's absolutely criminal that we did not include Quinton Fortune, get in touch.
Yeah, really do.
So where could they find us, John?
We're on Twitter at the 1-11 pod. We're on Facebook at the 1 to 11 pod, and we're on Instagram at the 1 to 11 pod. Also, if you check the notes of this episode, you can find our email address.
Yes, so get in touch. We'd love to hear people's opinion, and if we value your opinions to that level, we'd love for you to come on and talk to us about it.
Very much so.
But we are going to be back with another episode in the near future, and we very much look forward to seeing you then. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.